Alright, this is Josh Rubin from East West Sailing Performance. I'm having a great time doing this YouTube clip. Today we're going to find out the correlation between dicks and assholes. Literally. So the funny thing is every other commercial on TV is, how do you get an erection? Right? We have tons of men, we can even say women, that have no libido, right? Men can't get erections. No one's having babies. If they're having babies, they're having to go on Clomid. They're having to go on synthetic progesterone. They're having to do artificial insemination. And God only knows they're coming up with more and more concepts for you guys to get pregnant because you can't. Right? At the same time, thousands and millions and trillions of Americans can't poop. They're pooping every other day. They're pooping every 4 days. They're pooping every 5 days. Right? Or when they poop, they're pooping like a rabbit or a machine gun. Right? These are huge problems going on. Some of the most widely prescribed medications are for libido, hormones, and constipation. Why is this? Well, we could break it down to one thing. One simple thing, and that's stress. Now, there's many types of stressors. You have to figure out what stressors are pretty much chasing you. What type of physical stressors, what type of mental, emotional stressors, spiritual stressors, chemical stressors, nutritional stressors, electromagnetic stressors, and on and on. You have to figure out which types of stressors are chasing you. Well, if you think about erectile dysfunction, right? We have a nervous system called autonomic nervous system. You get two sides, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is like fight or flight, running from a lion, getting in a fight, anxious, working out, more catabolic, tissue breakdown. It allows your body to basically adapt to stress. It's not bad. And parasympathetic is like rest and digest. Okay? So when you're sympathetic, you're working out, blood rushes from the center of the body, away from the reproductive organs and GI system, to the periphery, to the muscles, to the brain, to the eyes, so you can see, work out, run, whatever you need to do. When you're in the parasympathetic state, more blood rushes to the digestive system and the reproductive system. Last time you got in a fight, you were running from a lion, you're not thinking about taking a shit or having sex, are you? No, because you're in a sympathetic state. So most Americans are in a sympathetic state. We can really just break it down for many of these different stressors. Well, when you're in a chronic sympathetic state and you never adapt to any of the stresses that are fighting you, basically most of the blood's in your periphery. So you end up being constipated, among other many, gastrointestinal systems, and you can't get an erection because all the blood is away from the reproductive system and GI system. So it's stress that's causing this. Of course, it's lack of blood flow to the penis. They're saying we need vasodilation. Of course it is that, because more blood is in the periphery. Our body is fighting stress. When our body is fighting stress, the most important thing is not procreation. It's not having sex and having an orgasm. It's about survival. It's about your body actually living. It doesn't care about sex, right? But what do? We live backwards. We think about sex and money, right? What medications can we take to actually get a hard-on? What medications can we take to poop? We do it all backwards. The body is all about survival. So if you're chronically stressed, you have all these different stresses, you can easily get erectile dysfunction and constipation from blood going to the periphery. Now at the same time, when you're under chronic stress, we can go a little bit further, peel the layers down. Hormonally, your body's going to steal precursor hormones from the sex pathway. So we're not going to go into the technicalities of it. We might a little, but the bottom line is when you're stressed, your body's going to steal precursors, we'll call it pregnenolone, from your sex pathways. It's going to steal it to overproduce cortisol because remember, your body has to fight inflammation and fight stress. When it does this, you actually lower the percentage of the amount of growth hormone and testosterone that's produced in the body, so you end up with infertility issues and lack of libido and erectile dysfunction. It's another way a lot of men end up with erectile dysfunction. Same thing, stress, we just brought it down a level, and we start seeing DHEA and testosterone deficiencies in men. We're seeing this in such a huge rate nowadays. So we see libido issues, right? With gastrointestinal problems, people that are eating the wrong foods, they're eating crap foods, refined processed foods, too much alcohol, too much sugar, too much gluten, everything's in a box, in a can. Read ingredients that's on cold-cut turkey. It's everything but cold-cut turkey. It's pretty much a chemistry experiment. Everything's industrialized. Most people have food intolerances. Most people have gut problems. And we're wondering why people are chronically constipated. If you put toxins in the gut, right, it's a sympathetic stress to the body. And of course, it could go the other way with diarrhea. But it can go one way with constipation. It's a huge sympathetic stress to the body. When you're in a sympathetic state, you can easily become constipated. So the bottom line is, if you have erectile dysfunction, if you have low libido and you're male or female, and you're constipated, the number one thing you need to do is not focus on the penis, right, or your dick, or focus on your asshole. The key is to focus on what stressors are creating and what stressors are creating that, okay? And these are sympathetic system overloads. They create constriction. They bring blood flow away from the GI system, away from the reproductive system, into the periphery. Now, we could get super technical with this, but that's the bottom line. When that happens, you can't digest foods, you become constipated, you end up with a plethora of problems, and you can't get a hard-on, you become infertile, and you have no libido. So, of course, people have hormone problems and gastrointestinal problems, but the bottom line is you got to figure out the root cause. What is the root? The constipation, the infertility, lack of libido, and limp are because of a stress. So the bottom line is figure out where your stresses are coming from. You're welcome to call us at East West Healing Performance to set up a consult, do some lab testing, hormonal testing, adrenal testing, and gastrointestinal testing, as well as just some basic paper assessments to figure out what stresses are chasing you, to get a prioritized plan in order to figure out what I need to do in my life and nutritional to reduce sympathetic stress, but also how can I balance that hormonally with supplements and bioidentical hormones. So feel free to call us so you can figure out a prioritized plan and not just focus on the supplements and the bioidentical hormones, but also focus on what's actually the root, what stressors are creating the chronic sympathetic overload and pulling blood from the penis, from the reproductive organs, and from the colon that's causing constipation. So hopefully you've enjoyed this clip. It's a pretty simple YouTube clip, but I feel like it gets a huge point across when it comes to a major problem or major problems going on in our society today. And a lot of the times, it's not that complex. The bottom line is look at the person and come up with a prioritized plan and focus on the root of the issue instead of focusing on the symptoms. Peace.